You are listening to the Invitation Church podcast. To learn more about Invitation Church, visit us online at invitation605.com. You can also download our app on iTunes and Google Play by searching for Invitation 605.
Well, welcome to the Invitation Church podcast. If you have found this feed, you're probably waiting for a sermon, but you're not going to get a sermon today. Today, I am sitting with my friend Bruce Bloomer. He is the executive director of Haiti Alive, and we just want to have a conversation about a little bit about his life, but also about the ministry that he runs. So, Bruce, thanks for hanging out with us today.
Yeah, good morning. Good to be with you.
Hey, wondering if you would just kind of kick us off just by talking, a little bit about your background, maybe family, organizations that you've been a part of. Just let people get to know you a little bit.
Yeah, that sounds good. Well, I'm a product of the Dakotas. I'm a preacher's kid, so just a wonderful person like Dave is. And so grew up in South Dakota, lived across a couple different places, went to the University of South Dakota, met a woman named Sharon. We got married, had a couple of boys, have lived around eastern South Dakota. I kind of have two careers. I started in education. I was an elementary and middle school teacher and principal, worked at a couple universities. And then the second half of my career life was really foundation and fundraising. I worked with the Dakotas United Methodist Foundation, so I worked with churches across North Dakota and South Dakota, did some work with the University of Sioux Falls and a couple other organizations. So those are my two main career paths. I've always kind of been interested and involved in organizations that are helping organizations. When we lived in Mitchell, I was part of Habitat for Humanity there, kind of got that off the ground. I was part of the Mitchell Area Safe House, which is a abuse shelter for women, was on that board for a number of years. And then here I've been in the community outreach in Sioux Falls, which is a kind of a helping ministry. I'm currently on the board of Kids Against Hunger, and so always interested in kind of those helping things. And then my main organization is Haiti Alive, and then we'll talk about that. But those are kind of my kind of a quick summary of my background and where I've been.
Yeah, it's awesome. Well, talk to us a little bit about Haiti. How did you get connected with people in Haiti? I know it's a huge part of your heart and your day-to-day, so tell us about that.
So in 2003, the pastor of the church that we were attending asked if I wanted to go on a mission trip to Haiti. And I thought, well, that'd be kind of an adventure. And our church was very involved, had been sending teams pretty regularly to Haiti. A lot of people in church were supportive. And so I went to the north part of Haiti, which is the area called Cap-Haïtien. It's the second largest city. And the second trip I took was in 2008. And my wife said when I came back from that trip that I was very different. Well, my second trip was to this island of LaGonave. And so kind of about 50 miles northwest of Port-au-Prince is this island in the ocean called LaGonave. It's a 40 by 10 mile island. So it's a little bit difficult to get there. But when I get there, I kind of feel like I'm home. And so we just got connected to that area, and that's, where we've continued to work. In 2008, we met this young man named William. He was an orphan. He was living with his uncle, who was a pastor. He really didn't know his dad, but lost his mom. Her mom died when he was about 12. Sisters were sent to one place on the main island. He was sent to this island of LaGonave to live with the pastor. But there were some missionaries working on the island. I got to know William, and they said, here's a young man that wants to become a doctor. Can you help them? And so we had a really great project in 2008. We were working on a church, and I can really remember very distinctly for, standing in the middle of this church praying for a way, and we came back to our church and said, hey, would you support William to start medical school? And the church was great. They responded. He started medical school in 2009 in Port-au-Prince, and then we were there in 2010 during the big earthquake. Yeah. And so William was with us, and I tell this story a lot, but if he would have been where he should have been at medical school, he probably would be gone because his medical school collapsed. Many of his professors and fellow students were killed. So we were on this island of LaGonave. We didn't have all the death and destruction that they did in Port-au-Prince, but it was a tough time. It was a hard time to get home. It was a traumatic experience for me. And that kind of sealed the deal that I needed to do something. In 2011, then I went back to LaGonave by myself, and I went to these villages, and I interviewed pastors and women's groups and elderly, and just anybody would talk to me, frankly. And I just said, if we could help, what do you need? And it was very clear from the people they needed support in education, healthcare, and supporting women, children, and the elderly. And so we just kind of came back very casually to our church and said, hey, can you help with some school scholarships? And so people would give some money for scholarships. Or we continued then, the other part of that story is William's medical school collapsed. So he had this idea of going to the Dominican Republic to start medical school, where he had no place to live. He didn't, they wouldn't accept any of his credits from the, Port-au-Prince Medical School. And, oh, by the way, you get to learn a new language because they speak Spanish in the Dominican. So you can imagine starting medical school and learning a new language. So he's an amazing young man. So we started supporting him in medical school, provide money for tuition and books, for his living expenses. So we just kind of chipped away. And then in 2013, the pastor of the church said, this is getting too big for us as a church. And so we'd like you to set up a separate nonprofit. And so in 2013, we went through the process of becoming a separate 501c3. At that time, it was called LaGonave Alive. I really wanted people to know about this island of LaGonave. But what I found over the years, and it took me 10 years to realize this, but I'm a slow learner. But what I came to realize is that people in the United States don't have a connection to LaGonave. And so if you hear the word LaGonave Alive, you're like, well, what is a LaGonave? Most people can't spell it or say it or whatever. So we rebranded about a year and a half ago to Haiti Alive. And it was really just so people could recognize it's a ministry that works in Haiti. We haven't changed our mission. We still work with education and healthcare, supporting women, children, and the elderly. It's really the same thing. All we did is rebranded, renamed it. So people here would understand, it's Haiti. We're supporting the people of Haiti. And so then it's just grown. I mean, honestly, it's just grown very kind of step by step, person by person, as we found need. But we haven't really stayed true to those core areas. There's so many ways to help in this world. Water projects are incredibly important. Agriculture, incredibly important. Lots of things. Orphanages, but we just can't do those. We're gonna be stay dedicated to education, healthcare, and supporting women, children, and the elderly.
Yeah. There's probably some people who are listening to this who have heard about Haiti. They've heard about, the political conversations that have been going on for a long time, even within the United States, about what does it mean to help? What does it mean to support? What are the dynamics, of Haiti? I think there's a lot of things people have probably heard from reading something online, but don't have an actual experience, feet on the ground in the dirt. Wondering if you could just talk about some of the dynamics in Haiti, both socially, politically, just so that we could have an understanding, of what some of those things are, what life is like there, and kind of why Haiti does often come up in a conversation about needs in the world.
I was thinking about that, and we have poverty in the United States, and we have poverty in Haiti, but they are different. And I don't think most people in the United States understand the difference in the poverty. How I would characterize it is, it's in the United States, it's an inconvenience. In Haiti, it's starvation. So in the United States, it's inconvenient to have to get food stamps or to go to a feeding program or to wait in line for a food giveaway or all those things. I'm not saying that poverty doesn't exist. I'm not saying that food insecurity doesn't exist here, but we have a lot of resources here. So it's an inconvenience for those people. Sometimes it's difficult for those people, but food's available there. In Haiti, none of those programs exist. There aren't feeding programs. Many people don't eat every day or eat once a day. Many people there are on the brink of starvation. It's a different kind of poverty. And so we have people here that I hope we care for everybody in the world, but it is a different level of poverty there.
Yeah.
And so the other part of it is the political instability that's happened in that country. They've just had at one time, Haiti was the wealthiest country in the Caribbean. They were selling sugarcane, that they sold rum. They called it the Pearl of the Caribbean. And then there was a series of really poor leaders who would and then they kind of went through this pattern of the leader would go in, They would kill all their opponents, and when they're done, they would take the money and go to another country. And that repeated itself over and over. Currently, they are really in a difficult spot. The president was assassinated a couple of years ago. There's a prime minister that's leading the country who is not elected. And so the people, and he won't hold elections. And so the people of Haiti are very angry about that. They don't like him. They feel like he's an unelected official. And so there's lots of protests. The other thing that's happened is the core center of Haiti, of Port-au-Prince, which is the largest city, several million people, is largely controlled by police, but the perimeter of Port-au-Prince is controlled by gangs. And so if you come in from the west, you have to pay one gang. If you come from the north, you pay a different gang. And they're doing a lot of yucky things, like kidnapping people and holding them for ransom. There's a lot of conversation about drug trade going through them so they can trade guns for drugs. There's just a lot of really difficult things. And what gets left in the wake of that is there's hungry people who now have food prices that have gone up. They have very limited access. There's in LaGonave, again, remember it's an island, and so the closest place there's about 15 miles across, and they used to run a ferry, a large ferry, a boat with, probably 150, 200 people. They would run this ferry back and forth 2 or 3 times a day. It hasn't run for a year.
Wow.
And because the port that they go to is controlled by a gang, and so it's not safe for them to go there. So if they want to get medical care, they have to pay a gang. If they want to bring items to sell or to bring back to the island to sell, like rice or gas or whatever, they have to pay a gang to go through their area. And so everything's just become expensive and more difficult. And so I think part of the problem with Haiti is it's a little bit cry wolf. Like it's always been, there's always been some turmoil there. There are an incredible number of nonprofits that work in Haiti, but right now, most international staff have pulled their staff from Haiti, and because it's not safe for them. And so a lot of the nonprofits that are working there have pulled their staff. And so it is really a difficult time right now, more so than any time that I've ever been connected to Haiti. I was there on a recent trip to there, and we can kind of talk about that if we want, but once we get to the island of LaGonave, I feel like it's safe. They're actively protecting the island from gangs. Our ministry's going well there. It's just you can't get there, and we can't bring teams there, and it's not really safe all the time for even Dr. William or the other people that work with our ministry because they're known as people who might have money. And so they're more susceptible to kidnapping and other things like that. So it is probably the most difficult time that I've seen. And I think we've sort of become immune to it a little bit. It's sort of like we continue to kind of like Haiti, and it doesn't feel like it gets better. And so some people have kind of thrown their hands up. But what I would say in the end is there's still people there that have need. There's still people that we love and care for who have great need. And I believe we have a responsibility to continue to try to connect and help those people in the small ways that we can.
Yeah. Something that, as you were talking, that I was thinking about, is what the response has been from some other countries with resources. I mean, we see that, you turn on the news, you open Twitter or whatever, and it's like, oh, here's sort of the next frontier of what this country is doing. I mean, what's been at least some of your understanding around the relationship that Haiti has had, whether it be the United States or it be Canada, France. I mean, some of that, could you?
Yeah, it's a difficult relationship. There has been, I would say Haiti and the United States have a little bit of a checkered relationship. There has been times where the United States have tried to help the country, and in the end have kind of hurt the country. Like one of the examples was they brought in tons of rice to help to feed the people. Well, what that did was put the local rice farmers out of business. They've had some examples like that where they're sort of haven't really been as careful about how they were helping. Same with the United Nations. The United Nations was there for a while. Then they had some problems, and so the United Nations was asked to leave the country. There is conversation right now about a police force from Kenya coming, which is interesting. But they're planning to send a police force from Kenya that the country would pay to kind of get their police back in shape, and really to put a more safe presence in the country. When I was there the last trip, William told me that 3,000 police officers left or quit this last year. Wow. 3,000. Well, that doesn't help the country, and so they've had kind of a checkered relationship with some other countries. I think it's one of the things is they don't want outside help, even though they need outside help. And so it's been hard. It's been, but the United States has been very generous. Canada has been very generous. There is some money I understand that's on its way to Haiti if they can get the Kenyan police force there to help them with supplies and some things like that. And so it's, there have, I guess, just kind of an interesting history with other countries that, in the one way that the people express their anger is through protesting, and so especially in Port-au-Prince, it's a pop-up protest. It would be kind of like you never quite know. I mean, just there's something happens. It's an anniversary of something, or the gas prices go up, and then it's major protest streets are taken over and things like that. So it's a difficult relationship. I don't know that I fully understand all the relationship with everyone, but I think it's two things. They've really tried to be a democratic country. They've really tried to hold elections and things like that. But they've really had some internal governmental issues that are tough. One of the things I was there last time, I was asking William about taxation. So here in the United States, we tax everything. I mean, everything we pay a tax on. So most of the goods in Haiti are person to person. I'm on the street, you come up buy mangoes from me, and you and I have a exchange of dollars. Well, the government's not getting that money. And I said, well, what about why, we pay taxes on hotels and some things like things that we as when we come to the country pay it, which is understandable. We should pay tax. Yeah. But most of the exchange happens person to person. So you come and you buy some, gas for your motorcycle. That's an exchange between you and that person. The government's not getting any tax money. So I said, well, they really need to collect tax money. And they said, well, we would never send it to the government because they would just use it. But yet they want the government to help them. And I said, well, how do you expect the government to help you if there's no funding source for them? Yeah. And so I don't know, it's a complicated thing, and how they would collect taxes, I'm not sure, but there's such a mistrust of the government. Even if they collect taxes, they wouldn't send it to the government. And then the government doesn't have resources to turn around and provide roads or provide police force or fire or whatever, those ambulance, all those kinds of, food, basic services, because they don't have a consistent funding source.
Yeah, wow.
I don't know. It's complicated.
Yeah, no, I think it's helpful though, because I think, there's a list of countries that you hear a lot about, and then it's very easy those countries get a reputation because there's a story, there's a narrative, behind it. And so I think it's really, really helpful, as our church really does seek to support what's going on in Haiti through Haiti Alive, but even for us to understand what are some of the dynamics that exist underneath, all of that. And so I think that's really helpful. I want to talk about your trip, but before we talk about the trip, I'd love to hear just a little bit, about, we've talked about some of the challenges that exist there. Yeah. Like, what do you see, like, within the people, because beautiful people who live there, who are resilient and creative and, all of that. Can you kind of talk about, kind of what you see as, some strengths every time you go? I mean, you always come back with stories of just how beautiful the people are there, and people who live in a really difficult place, but also live with courage.
Yeah, and so I'm glad you brought that up, because I think I was thinking to myself, it's not all negative. I mean, whenever I go there, I mean, they're really wonderful people. They're very interested in our life. Many of them speak English or want to speak English. They speak Haitian Creole. It's kind of a French-based language, and that I don't speak well enough. But they're really curious about your life. They want to know more about that. They're very funny. They love teasing each other. Teasing is part of it, and part of not knowing the language well is you miss some of those kind of like when they're teasing people and whatever. It's a competitive society. And I think that stems from their lack of resources, and so they're very competitive. The other thing I find interesting is like let's just say you're playing soccer with the kids and you fall down and you have dust on your pants. They will come up and brush all the dust off. I mean, the kids and the people are always dressed really well in a place where they can't eat, but they're dressed very well. And we go to church. I mean, the men are in suits, the women are in dresses. We're always the mutts in church. If I kind of feel like we should bring better clothes when we go, but and what I've found more than anything is they just really care for each other. When I will give, very often I'll hand a granola bar to a kid. If I was hungry, that granola bar would be gone. Most kids share it with several others. I was just down this last time, and I gave this little girl a granola bar that I had, and she ate part. She gave a bite to her dad, and she put it in her pocket. I said, "What are you doing?" She says, "I'm going to save the rest for my mom." And that's, giving candy out. Every kid that I've ever given something like that to shares it first.
Wow.
And if I'm hungry and I think about the United States, there's no way that would have been eaten and gone before that. One of the things that, and I've talked to a couple other leaders of some other Haiti organizations in the area, and one of the strengths of this mess that's happening in Haiti is we've really had to develop better local leadership. So Dr. William is responsible for our ministry in Haiti. We have held him accountable. We have a board. We have an accountant because I want to make sure that the money is cared for well. We get reports on that. We're in conversation daily about things that happen on the island. But he has really stepped up as becoming a very strong leader. And our whole board in Haiti, and we have a board here in the United States that Dave is a part of, but we also have a board in Haiti, and we've made them more accountable. It isn't that kind of the goal, to have ownership of their own future. What we're providing is trying to get them some resources. Maybe this is a little aside, but we've had some building projects. We've built 56 homes in a women's village. We have a school. 99% of that work was done by local Haitians, because our goal is let's pay people who can learn a skill, but also that they can have an income to feed their own families. It doesn't help us for us to send a team down and build everything, and then they're just watching from the sidelines. That doesn't help anybody. Providing the resources so they can learn a skill and receive funding is really a good thing. So I guess in a long way, I think the benefit that's happened of our not being able to travel there regularly, and some of the difficulties, is we've developed really strong local leaders, and that's going to carry on beyond when things get more settled and it's safer to be in the country.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. Yeah, I think it's helpful. Again, that just like fills out the picture, for Haiti. You were just there.
Yeah, I was.
So what do you want to say about your experience there? I mean, you've shared a little bit about it so far, but it had been several years. Yeah,
it'd been over 2 years since I'd been there physically. The last team that we brought was in 2020. One other board member and I went in 21, and so it's been 3 years since we've been there. And so it's just a hard place to travel to. And I've been talking with some other international people, and everybody's kind of eking back a little bit. I don't think it's safe to bring teams right now. When I flew into Haiti at the end of January. We flew into the capital of Port-au-Prince. Like I said, the center of the city is pretty well controlled by police, but I was actually in a van with 3 heavily armed men, automatic weapons, to go to kind of the south part of Port-au-Prince to a police station. From that police station, we got in an armored vehicle with armed guards, because we had to drive through a gang territory to go to the boat area, the port area. And so when we were coming back, we actually heard gunfire and automatic weapon fire. And I'm like, hey, what's that all about? And William said, well, there's a couple gangs that are fighting for area control of a certain part of the port. So then we had to get on a boat, a 20-foot speedboat, that we went about 50 miles on the ocean to get to LaGonave, and it was a brutal trip. We got out into the ocean, and the waves were really high the day we got there, and it was a really hard trip. I mean, I haven't been bounced around like that in a long time. It was pretty, in fact, still pretty sore from that, even a couple weeks later. We just got bounced all over the place, and so that was hard. And so in past, there was a small airplane that flew from Port-au-Prince to the island of LaGonave. About a year and a half or so ago, they pulled their flights out of Haiti because it wasn't safe for them. And I just said to William, I can't come back until that plane comes, because this is too hard a way to get there, and really not a very safe way to get there. Because then when we came back, there was conversations about protests. And so we kind of took a back road through Port-au-Prince. So I was in the armored vehicle again, then the van, but it's those pop-up protests you just don't know anything about. And so we kind of took back roads to get to the airport. Well, literally 2 days later, another team from another mission organization was there for 4 extra days because the port protests had broken out in Port-au-Prince. They couldn't get out of their airport because the airport closed because of the protests. And so, it's just those like unknown things. And so before I would feel safe that we could bring a team there, we'd fly into Port-au-Prince and fly that small plane to LaGonave. But we can't do that until the plane returns. And so, but once I got to the island, things are really going well. We have a 2-level school. It's grades kindergarten through 9th grade. We feed the kids every day. We have school sponsors that provide uniforms and food for them. We had a clinic attached to the school, and we made the decision, because we have so many kids, that we closed the clinic and made that a preschool and kindergarten. So we're getting a lot of kids for that. So we have a K through 9 school, and that's the end. We don't have a secondary school. We don't have the funds for that. But the school is really doing well. We have about well over 200 kids. We have a computer lab. We have a cistern that's collecting water for the kids who have clean water. It's going well. We have a bus that runs down the main street. And getting a bus from Florida over on a boat to the island is a whole like day story in and of itself. But we have kids that live several miles from the school, and so we kind of run the bus down the main road, and they hop on. Our biggest new project is we have a women's village. It's always kind of been in my heart about we need to provide safe places for women. They really, truly have the most responsibility for their kids. My line is that men do a pretty good job of creating children. They don't always do a very good job of supporting them. And so we had a very generous donor who bought a parcel of land, and then we began building homes there. And the homes are really, really wonderful. There's a porch area, there's a living room. They actually have indoor toilet and indoor water, which is unheard of in Haiti. They have 2 bedrooms. And we have 56 homes now that are built. We have capacity for 64 homes. And that was probably the most fun part of the trip. I hadn't seen any of it. I had, everywhere I walked, I had 12 or 15 kids hanging on me and pulling on me. And we did a food distribution to the elderly. We did some food giveaway to the women in the village. But just to see the community that had developed there, one of the great decisions that William made was to put in solar night lights, because it gets dark there early. And so the night lights are the gathering places. And so where the women gather, and it's where the kids gather, and they're hanging out and talking and playing games. And it was just such a fun community.
It's awesome.
One night we got together and we just talked about their responsibilities. Like, hey, you have a responsibility to care for your home, to be good community members, to live with each other in harmony, because at some point, if you meet these requirements, this is going to become your home, and you're going to have an asset for your future. And a woman stood up and she just said, "I feel like I'm in the United States. I'm living in a mansion." Well, we have cars that are bigger than some of the homes that these people are living in, but yet she felt like she was living in a mansion. And so, just the gratitude of the women. They were living in unsafe, deplorable conditions, and now they're in a gated community, so that it's safe. Their kids are safe. they are safe from from people or from violence, and it is just really, it was heartwarming. It was really great. And then just a quick aside is we are also building what we're calling the Agape Center, and so it's a new center that we're building in the Women's Village. We have a microloan program, so we give women small loans so they can develop a business and develop a way to feed their own families, but we're also providing them training and support. When they repay that loan, then we have more funds available to loan to other people. And we have 38 women that are doing some really interesting, businesses, small businesses to raise some funds. And then we are moving the clinic there. So the clinic will move from the school to this Agape Center in the village, and we built 3 rooms on. And I was very surprised that William and the builders, in appreciation for what's been done, have built 6 more rooms onto that clinic. That's a future thing. We don't have the funds right now to support that, but in the future we could have a very nice clinic there, probably a birthing area, maybe small surgeries, a laboratory, those kinds of things. So that's, obviously future planning, but we will not only service the women, we'll service the people who have come to our clinic. It's a free clinic. They come, and as much as we have money available for medicines and things, and there's actually a side gate so they can come right into the clinic. They don't have to go through the main gates, and they don't have to interact in the village. So anyways, just William and his team have done some really smart, great things, and that it couldn't have turned out better. I mean, I just really, truly don't know how it could have turned out better. We have been offered by the mayor of the town a large parcel of land across the street, across the main road there, probably 3 to 4 times the size of our current village, if we will develop a market area and future homes. We have 5 years to come up with the funds for that. We don't have the funds, real honestly. It's going to take about $100,000 to develop this market area, and we don't have that, that we don't have those funds, but it's a future dream, and he'll offer us those land. Our village is a little bit far out from the kind of the main town. And so it's starting to develop in that area, but they need a market area so the women and people in the area can go to buy, fish and rice and beans and those things and sell their wares instead of having to go all the way into town and so forth. So we'll see what happens. But he has been very supportive of our efforts. We would typically have to pay taxes per home, and they've waived the taxes because a per home kind of tax for because we're serving, some of the most difficult families that, just living conditions.
Right.
There's a mudflat area in the city called Ensagale, and that mudflat area is free for people to live, but it floods and it's ugly. Just a typical rain or even tides, that kind of stuff. It's just a mud fest down there. Well, that land's free to the people because it's terrible to live there. Well, a lot of these women are coming out of, they call it the Saline. So a lot of these women are coming out of these awful mudflat homes with just ramshackle put together things, moving into a concrete block home with running water in the home. You just think about the life-changing difference that's made for those women.
Yeah, that's incredible.
Yeah, it's been just really neat to see it come forward.
Yeah. Yeah, just listening, to that story, thinking all the way back to the conversations you had with your pastor at your church.
Right.
And then him saying, hey, I think this needs to become a nonprofit. And then to see how the movement of God has just opened up doors and given you opportunities to step in and build relationships.
Right.
And really, to work alongside, shoulder to shoulder with people. That's what I love about Haiti Alive is the dignity that is such a part of the fabric of the organization, the image of God within the people that is recognized. And then, hey, what does it look like for us to partner together to make change instead of us bringing our toolbox on a plane somewhere? It's, hey, we're catching up on the conversation that God's having with these people, and we're seeking to come alongside of them and work shoulder to shoulder. I think it's really beautiful.
Well, and I have said this a lot, but I just feel like God put me in the right place, and I've just the one thing I've done well is I've at least said yes when I could have said no, and we have this ministry has grown because of good partners. I mean, Invitation Church has become just an outstanding partner. We get a monthly, check, plus a lot of people in the church support us. And so your leadership for that has really made a difference. And so we can't do this ministry without financial support. I mean, we can't. And so our ministry has grown when we have had funds available. I mean, we didn't build the school till we had funds available. We just, we do add different things as we've had available. Like we started a Christmas program. It started out very small. Last year we did 1,100 kids who showed up for Christmas for a party and a meal and a small toy, a day of fun. We do feeding programs when we're available, when we have the funds available for that. And so it's just one of those things is we're not a large nonprofit, even though I feel like we've done some good things. William actually said that the Women's Village is the largest project on LaGonave on the entire island. But that happened because of other people. It didn't happen because of me. It happened because of other people who've understood the need to support people in a different place and care for and love people. And so, it's been amazing to see it grow. I will say the thing that keeps me up at nights is how do we maintain all those things that we've continued or we've begun. And so that's always been a fear as you build it up to a point and you're like, well, we got to maintain that. We got to maintain the clinic. We have to pay the teachers at the school. We have to continue to maintain the Women's Village and buy medicine, all those things. And so there's always that ongoing need. That's no different than any church or nonprofit that sets that ongoing need. That's always important.
Yeah. One of the things that we've talked about kind of as we wrap things up is how far a dollar can go in Haiti.
Right.
And when we talk about building a school in the United States, building a clinic in the United States, I mean, we're talking about millions upon millions and upon millions of dollars. And so I think people have, all kinds of things that they could give to.
Absolutely.
All kinds of wonderful organizations that are doing meaningful work, both locally, nationally, globally. But I'd love to just kind of end our time if you could just kind of paint a picture for the number one, the financial need, and then, what the opportunities would be for people to come on board and to support. They might be listening to this on the treadmill or walking the dog around the block or whatever it is, and they may have heard your story and what's going on in Haiti and like, man, I can't give $100,000,
right.
But I would love to be a part of what God is unfolding among these people in Haiti. And so maybe just to talk a little bit about what the options would be. How could people jump on board?
Well, first of all, I want to say that we have no paid staff. And so if you give a gift, that money goes directly into our ministry. And so I don't know how to hunt and fish. And so this is what I do for fun. But you're right. Money goes so much farther there. Like $50 feeds the kids for a day. So we feed all of those kids and the staff for $50 a day.
Like 200 kids.
Over 200 kids plus the staff. We're probably feeding 250 people, 225 to 250 people. $50 feeds all those people. $100 provides a week of medicine for our clinic. And so that goes a long ways. I mean, $100 for all the people who are coming to our clinic for a week. $150 provides a scholarship for a student. So we buy them uniform, give them uniform, we feed them every day, give them a year of education. So for $12.50 a month, for $150 a year, you can sponsor a student. Now, there are people who have more resources. Our homes are $11,500. Like you said, in the United States, that would be a probably $50,000 to $75,000 bill. It's $11,000 there to provide a home. And so and any increment up to that. And so if you want to contribute towards feeding, or if you want to contribute, towards the school, we'll use those funds well. I mean, we have a board here in the United States that oversees those things. We have a board in Haiti, so I can guarantee your money's accounted for and cared for. But it goes also directly into the ministry. There's many ways that people can support us, and my phrase right now, and I have in my latest book is do good somewhere. If you feel called to do good here in Sioux Falls or in wherever you're living, do it. Do good somewhere. But I also hope there are enough people to understand that we have we have a ministry that's a viable ministry that's doing good things, and we need your financial support to make sure that we can continue to do that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. No, it's wonderful. I think what's so great about the ministry model here is, hey, no matter what you're able to give, there's an opportunity for you to come on board. And so if you're a parent with young kids and you're talking to them about what's it mean to be generous, right? There's an opportunity, for kids to be helping kids.
Absolutely.
with
the
Haiti
Christmas
Alive.
program and things like that.
Mm-hmm.
And I've written a book called "It's Not My Problem, or Is It?" From Nudge to Nonprofit. It's available on Amazon. It's kind of a history, kind of goes through some of the things that we've talked about today. But I donate all those things. I donate all the profits that I get. You can find on Amazon or HaitiAlive.org. But the other thing I would say is we also need connections. And so if you have a church or a group or someplace that you think might be interested in hearing the story of Haiti Alive, please contact me. And because the more we get connected to people and get the story out there, the more people that we can help. And so you can go to HaitiAlive.org. It has all the contact information. You can give there. You can give through Venmo, through PayPal, through good old checks. We still take those too, cash. But you're right. There are many levels of help. And do good somewhere, feel where you feel called, but just know that we have a people that we know and we care and love, and that we're trying to continue to serve them and help them in the ways that we find most appropriate.
Yeah, that's great. So if people want to learn more, HaitiAlive.org, and then also Facebook and Instagram at Haiti Alive.
Yeah, and I'm much better about updating Facebook and Instagram than our website. So if you want to kind of see current projects, find us on Facebook and on Instagram. That's where I post more. I posted a bunch of pictures from my last trip. I've written a couple blog posts that you can kind of read about my trip and so forth. So all that's on Facebook and Instagram. Best place to connect with us there.
Awesome. Bruce, thanks for this. Thanks for spending time together just talking about what God's up to and how it can be a part of it.
Yeah, thank you, Dave. You've been very supportive. Appreciate it.
Awesome.